Welcome to Focus Today. Well, we are all still somewhat stunned by what's happened to our nation over the last week as we continue to get more information on the happenings and the tragedy there in Boston. I'm honored to have back with us today Ted Shoebat. He's the son of Willard Shoebat. We've had him both on before, and we're honored to have Ted back with us today. He's author of several books, In Satan's Footsteps, and the follow-up to that book, and that is For God or For Tyranny. And here we're today to talk to Ted about what happened in Boston. Ted, nice to have you back, my friend. Thanks for your time.
It's good to be on, sir. Thanks for having me again.
Yes. Well, we're all stunned what's happened here again. And do you see any difference in what happened in Boston, maybe as to what other terrorist attacks may have happened around the world?
Well, if you want to talk about around the world, yeah, there's thousands of parallels I can bring up. This is not the first time we've been attacked by Eastern European Muslims. Now, I think that since the Tsarnaev brothers were from the Balkans, they were from the Caucasus, they were Chechens. I think Americans are going to have to start getting used to, or at least they're going to start having to start investigate on who the Eastern European Muslims are, because we went to war with Afghanistan. Okay, that was another country added to our geographic knowledge. We went to war with Iraq. Okay, now Americans know a lot about Iraq. Somalia, Americans know a little bit about Somalia. Libya, with the Benghazi scandal, Americans are getting familiar with that as well. But now you have Chechnya, and now so Americans are going to have to investigate and do more research on who or what are the nature of the Eastern European Islamic world. Eastern Europe, such as the Caucasus and the Balkans region. So you have the Chechens, the Bosnians, you have the Dagestanians, you have many of the Albanians. They are a huge segment of the Muslim world is in Eastern Europe, and we seem to forget this. The Tsarnaev brothers were Chechens. They were from the Caucasus region. And this is not the first time we have been attacked by somebody from a Muslim from Eastern Europe. For example, back in 2007, this was a story that really went under the rug and did not get the attention it really deserved. The story of Srdjan Talovic. Srdjan Talovic was from the Balkans, Eastern European Muslim from Bosnia, very similar to Chechens, went into a mall in Salt Lake City, in the Trolley State Mall in Salt Lake City, and opened fire. Within 6 minutes, he managed to shoot down 9 people. He killed 5 of them, and the other 4 were left seriously injured. He killed more people than the Tsarnaev brothers did, but we did not pay attention to it. And in fact, even after the points were brought up, him being connected to jihad, that is, the investigators were still saying to the media, the motive is still unknown. And we did not learn from this event, and we are going to continue to have terrorist attacks, and it's only going to get worse. I think there's going to be something coming up in America worse than 9/11 because of our persistence in remaining intentionally ignorant, because of our fear of appearing intolerant. That is why, for example, when you watch the news, pretty much everything they say is something that a very ignorant person would say. For example, we don't really know the motive. We don't want to come to conclusions. For all we know, this guy could be a lone wolf. We don't want to make judgments on other people. We don't want to put a judgment on a certain population of the American people, meaning AKA the Muslims. Nobody wants to bring this up. As long as we keep this stupidity, as long as we keep this vicious ignorance up, we're still going to have terrorist attacks. It's not going to end.
All right. You bring up so many great points here. Let me back up a little bit. Both these brothers seem to be fairly young, and they were citizens. Yeah. And so somewhere along the line, they were converted or indoctrinated or whatever. Can you speak to that?
Well, that's another misconception that a lot of Americans have. They're always wondering about the point of radicalization. When was this person somehow persuaded to commit terrorism? Well, that's no such thing. You see, we keep talking about terrorism in America, but we keep ignoring the greatest terrorist organization in the United States and in the world, actually, and that is the religion called Islam. We keep forgetting the root causes. So in other words, we keep reacting to terrorism, but we never take the measures to prevent terrorism. And instead of killing this guy, the last of the brothers, Johaz, the last of the brothers, his name was Dzhokhar. Dzhokhar was in a firefight with the police. They say around 30 shots were fired. Excuse me, the guy had a firefight with the police. Why is there a need for a trial? Just take the guy out. If you don't take this guy out, that's only going to give the message to the Muslims that we can commit terrorist attacks and people are going to sympathize with us. In fact, that's what's going on right now. I looked at the news today, and you have people coming out saying, and there was a cardinal in Boston amongst them, saying that we need to show mercy and leniency on this person. The guy is a murderer. He is a part of a network called Islamic Jihad, which is an international operation to take over the world. In fact, there were Muslims saying that the reason why the Tsarnaev brothers and the Saudis who backed them up, that's another thing we don't talk about a lot, the reason why this operation was executed was to avenge the blood of their Muslim brethren in Mali. Because recently the French began to bomb Mali, which is a country near Libya in Africa. Now let's not forget, remember the attack that took place in the energy factory in Libya, when you had multiple Americans lose their lives and multiple foreigners lose their lives. Well, guess what? They were saying the same thing. Those terrorists were saying, well, the reason why we killed those people in that energy company in Libya was to avenge our brethren in Mali. Same thing happened in the United States, to avenge our brethren in Mali. This is an international network. They are all connected. And if we, as long as we keep acting like we have that these predators are lone wolves, these attacks are going to come, and they're never going to end till kingdom come.
All right. There's so much here. It appears that they were well connected because some of the elements of the devices used in these bombs obviously were given to them and manufactured somewhere else. Now that makes it international. Will they be seen as enemy combatants, or now we see some members of the media and even on the left saying, oh, wait a minute, they're local criminals because they were U.S. citizens?
I don't know, for example, for now, there's a good chance they'll say these guys were lone wolves, but there's also a good chance that they'll say that this was an act of terrorism because I believe the FBI, Homeland Security, has already affirmed this was an act of terrorism. So there's a good chance they will bring this man to justice rightfully. But here's the thing, is we are giving this guy a trial. Why? The man had a firefight with the police. I could pull out a cell phone on a cop and he could open fire on me and he would be justified because he does not want to take the chance that he could be killed. So we keep applying all this equality rubbish on terrorists as long as we keep this up, we're never going to end this problem. The problem in the United States is tolerance. We keep saying, well, the problem is terrorism. The problem is radicalization. No, it's not. The problem is that we have a bunch of leftists in this country that are teaching tolerance. They keep pushing this tolerance deal. As long as we continue on this policy of toleration for this religion called Islam, the problem is never going to end. It's only going to escalate. Now, the same thing happened with Sujman Tolovic. Sujman Tolovic received sympathy from the media. He came from Bosnia. In fact, before he came to America, he had a vision of a white horse with two beautiful eyes. Now, the white horse in Islam is the symbol of jihad. And also, Tolovic was telling the night before, he told his girlfriend that he was going to do something that she would never forgive him for, that he was going to, that the next day was going to be the greatest day of his life. Nobody took caution, or nobody was prudent enough to report this behavior, and we had this terrorist attack. And again, we did not learn from that event. The Tsarnaev brothers are from the Eastern European strand of Islam, which is probably, I would say, the most brutal form of Islamic jihad in the world. Now, if anybody doesn't believe me, I wrote an article about this a number of days ago, which they can get in Shoebat.com. And on this article, I posted a video that was filmed in the 1990s in Eastern Europe, in the nation of Dagestan. In the nation of Dagestan, a number of Eastern European Muslims, Chechens, Albanians, those type of jihadists, took a village in Dagestan, and there was a bunch of soldiers that they kidnapped. Now, the way they murdered these soldiers made it by far the most horrific thing I've ever seen in my life. And everybody who I know who has seen this video comes to the same conclusion. The problem is Islam. We do not see the diabolical and sinister nature of this cult. And I urge all the listeners to go and watch this video. It's on Shoebat.com. The name of the article is called... it's written by me, the Tsarnaev brothers, and Eastern European Jihad. They can watch this video and they'll see how horrific it is. They cut these men very slowly each until they die. That's the way these people kill, and that's the savagery the Tsarnaev brothers come from. All
right, Shoebat, SHOEBAT.com. Ted, it's amazing to me that their father said they were set up by a conspiracy. Their aunt said they were set up by a conspiracy. The mother says they're fed up by a conspiracy. But the uncle says, no, these are a bunch of bad guys. I want you to comment on that when we get back. And Ted Shoebat's with us. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Paulina, and I work at theDove TV. Did you know that when you support theDove TV, you have a profound impact, not only in our community, but around the world? It's your continued support that takes the inspiration and hope in the programs we produce and makes them available to the thousands of people who are watching these videos online every week. Help bring encouragement and hope to our valley and beyond by making a secure online donation today at our website, thedove.us.
Okay, we're back with our special guest, Ted Shoebat, and check out Shoebat.com. That's his website. That's SHOEBAT.com. And quite a few articles, the video that he earlier talked about, and his latest article, The Boston Bombers, Why Americans Are Clueless. And you may want to check out his website and support his work. Ted, as we were going into the break, I told you that it appears that his father and his mother and his aunt were all saying that these boys were set up and it was a conspiracy, but the uncle said, hey, wait a minute, these guys are ruining our family and they just did bad things, they're bad guys. Your comment on all that?
That's a very good question. In the East, your family is seen more of in a collectivist mentality as opposed to the United States. We see things more in an individualistic manner. In the East, what your family does, usually you do the same thing. So sympathy for your family, even if they are terrorists, still applies. And the same thing happened, in fact, with Suleiman Tolovic. After he was killed, his family had a huge funeral for him, and they considered him, well, he was innocent, he didn't really know what he was doing, he really wasn't a bad guy, and they expressed the sympathy. In fact, his father did the same thing. Well, very similar situation is happening now. Again, Eastern families are all very similar. In the case with the Tsarnaevs, you have a father, like you said, a mother, and an aunt saying, well, he was a great guy. That's typical. And the uncle comes out and says, well, in fact, if you do a little more research on the uncle himself said that the Johar does not deserve to live. And he's basically saying, you just kill this guy because he's no good. These people are no good. And one thing, he's absolutely right. He's an honest member of the family. And who are you going to believe? Are you going to believe his dad and his mom who say, well, he was a great guy and he was set up, or are you going to believe his uncle? I'm going to believe his uncle. Why? Well, let's look at the family. Let's look at the connections that these brothers had. The brothers are working with al-Harbi. Now, al-Harbi, he got off. The United States made a deal with the Saudis, and he went off to Saudi Arabia without any investigation. But we all know that al-Harbi was involved. Why? Well, al-Harbi has 6 members of his family who are official members of al-Qaeda. And then the al-Harbi has numerous family members that are locked up in Gitmo. You have Salim al-Harbi, you have Majid al-Harbi, you have Mohammed al-Harbi, you have Ghanim al-Harbi, you have Mohammed al-Harbi. These are all members of his family. Like I said, family in the East is seen in a more collectivist manner. So if your family is part of al-Qaeda, you are going to support them. If your family is part of al-Qaeda, you're also going to partake in terrorism. Simple as that. So, and also the fact that this guy had a shootout with the police. Of course, the uncle is, in my opinion, absolutely correct. these people do not deserve to live. They should instantly, in my opinion, receive the death penalty. Now, we keep hearing this rubbish talk about innocence and leniency, and that in Christianity we are taught to love. Well, all these Christians who talk this stuff, it seems as though they don't read the Old Testament anymore. If you read in the book of Numbers, chapter 35, Moses says quite clearly, "Take no satisfaction in the life of a murderer, but put him to death." So we keep forgetting these verses, and yet we want to apply the verses of Jesus talking about love to these people. Well, how is that love when you let a murderer go? Letting a murderer go, as Maimonides tells us, is tyranny to the victims. And that's all we're doing when we express ourselves this way. We are showing, for one thing, utter contempt for human life, even though we don't know it. Mm-hmm. And we are implementing a form of tyranny on the victims of the murder.
All right, let's step back, if we can, just for a moment, get above the maze, look at the big picture. Evil has been unleashed on the world, and we're not calling it evil.
Absolutely.
We're just
That's
not
exactly
calling
what this is.
Yeah.
Yes. Well, and like I said, all of these problems that we have in the United States with terrorism, give me the issue and I'll give you the reason. Terrorism, abortion, homosexual marriage, all of these things, as crazy as it may sound, they're all interconnected. If you look at a lot of the countries where Islam has thrived, in fact, if you look at all the countries in the Western world today where Islam has thrived, they are all leftist countries that have high policies of toleration. Compare the nation of England with Ireland. England has a huge Muslim problem. Ireland does not. Why? Because Ireland is still religious. Ireland is still Catholic. Ireland does not have a policy of toleration that the British have. Now, also look at the island of Malta. The Maltese people are still stuck with their religion. And we say, well, that's bad. They're just a bunch of legalistic jerks. No, they're not. When you had a large amount of Muslims came to Malta at one point in time, and they wanted to do a prayer procession, in which they would pray in public. Well, in the United States, we would allow that. Well, it's just prayers, just prayers. Mm. The Maltese people said no. They immediately objected to it, and they forced the procession to not take place. That is why Malta does not have a Muslim problem. Now, all of this goes back to one thing, and that is the church. The church in the United States has become utterly weak, and the way they are viewing the American church, the way it is viewing the problem with evil, is utterly deplorable. You will not find any one of these mainstream pastors today talk about Islam. They will not talk about the dangers of Islam. They will not talk about how Islam wants to annihilate Christendom. Now, look at the words of the historian Hilaire Belloc. Hilaire Belloc ingeniously once wrote that there are two questions that every society must confront. What our culture is founded on, and the second question is, who wants to destroy it? Our culture is founded on Christianity. All civilization today, all civilization period, has been founded on Christian principles. Now, what today wants to destroy it? Islamic fundamentalism and leftism. And it is these two ideologies that the church is terrified to confront in the United States. And here's another interesting point that I want to bring up. The American Christians have the most freedom than any other Christian on the face of the earth. They are the most free in the world. Yet, they are the most terrified to confront evil. Now, if you look at the Christians in Egypt, look at the Christians in the Eastern world, where persecution is rampant, where intolerance toward Christianity is implemented by governments. Christians are the most fearless. Luxury has taken away our souls, and the Christian church has become today much of an industry, which only cares about one thing, and that is getting lots and lots of members in. And if that means ignoring the devil, then so be it. Because as far as I'm concerned, that's what has entered the church. The devil has entered the church. And they are saying, well, don't focus on the devil. Well, if a robber wants to rob your house, does the robber want you to know that he is there, or does the robber want you to not know that he is there? The robber wants you to be asleep. The devil wants us to be asleep.
Well, we seem to have lost, I don't know, we could go down this road and it's endless, but we have lost the meaning of evil. I mean, we are combating evil. There's a spirit out there that wants to kill Christians, absolutely, Jews, and Americans, and we just don't seem to process that in our head.
Absolutely, and we always take and they're a big problem with the church, and this adds to what you just said about not confronting evil. we love to trivialize priorities and prioritize the trivial. What do I mean by that? For example, if I say, well, listen, the Trinity is a very important doctrine, and I have heard pastors tell this to me in front of my face. I've heard pastors say this on television. The Trinity means nothing to me. The Trinity is not an issue to me. The Trinity shouldn't be a big issue. It's a minor thing in Scripture. It's not a big deal. Well, excuse me. The Arian heresy that took over Christendom in the 3rd century, the Arian heresy which denied the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit, the Arian heresy which denied the Trinity, that was the main focus point of the Arian heresy, ended up taking over the Roman Empire and killing and beheading Christians for refusing to deny the Trinity. Now, how does that apply today? It applies very much so. Islam, Muhammad, learned from the heretic Arius on the Trinity. Muhammad took that heresy, made his own heresy, and he became a Unitarian. Islam is a Christian heresy. It's no different than Mormonism or the Jehovah's Witness religion. And Muhammad came out and said, well, the Trinity is a fallacy and we should not believe it. The major focal point of Islam is to make the entire world into a Unitarian society. And so Muhammad comes out and says, whoever believes in the Trinity should be killed. That is why when Islam took over, they tolerated heretics who denied the Trinity. So when people say, well, that's not an issue to me, it's a huge issue. And because we have trivialized the importance and significance of the Trinity, we have then allowed these heresies to thrive in our society. And the major one out of all of them is Islam. And because we have allowed it to thrive, we are dealing with the problem till this day, and millions of people have lost their lives because of this wicked religion, this antichrist religion called Islam. And we are dealing with it right now. And here's another thing. We have not even seen the full picture and the full entire nature of the Islamic religion. What do I mean by that? If you look at the original form of Islam when Muhammad founded it, it was Unitarian, it believed in human sacrifice, and it believed in cannibalism. If you look at all the early Muslims, cannibalism was allowed. Even going into the 16th century, human sacrifice was practiced in the Middle East. And I can give some historical details on that, but for the sake of brevity, I won't. And we are seeing the revival of Islam coming to its entirety. In Egypt right now, they are talking about allowing human sacrifice on Muslims who so-called apostatize from the faith. We are seeing cannibalism being taught in high school in Egypt right now. This is as a result of the Obama-backed Muslim Brotherhood government that has taken over in Egypt. The curriculum recently in Egypt has put a new addition to high school students, and this is a fact, that it is okay to cannibalize an enemy of Islam, or it is okay to kill and cannibalize a Muslim who does not pray 5 times a day. That is what they're teaching in Egypt right now. And they are also supporting, like I said, human sacrifice. And this, the full form of Islam, is here amongst us right now in the United States. And pretty soon we're going to see it, and we're not going to know what to do. Because right now we don't know what to do.
Wow. All right. Again, you can correspond with Ted. Shoebat.com is his website. Check out his articles and the video. Ted, thank you for your passion. I really appreciate it, and hope to have you and your dad back often. And thank you for the time that you give to us here at the Dove, because I think you're educating us, and we got to wake up. It's bottom line, we got to wake up. Thanks, Absolutely. My friend. Blessings on you.
God
okay?
Bless.
God bless you.
God bless you.
We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Daniel and I work at theDove TV. You know, compared to Portland, Seattle, and LA, Medford might be considered a small market, but at theDove, we're excited about the opportunity to make a big impact right here in our community. And you help make that happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us now by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or by phoning 541-776-5368.
Okay, we're back, and I'm honored to have with us today Chris Slattery. He's the leading pro-life advocate and founder of the Expectant Mother Care FrontLine Pregnancy Centers, which quite frankly is the largest chain of pro-life crisis pregnancy centers on the East Coast. And he's been tracking this trial of Dr. Gosnell, which is just over the top. I mean, I don't know if we can get all of this into our head, what's happening with this and what has happened with this doctor. Chris, thank you for giving us some of your time. How are you doing today? Are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay,
fine.
Okay, good. Nice to see you. Well, give us a short update on the doctor and what he did, and then we'll get into the trial itself.
Well, the doctor is being accused of murder of numerous children and one mother, and this case has gone on for over a month in trial in Philadelphia. And right now, the prosecution has rested, and the defense is making its case starting today. So it's been an absolutely amazing trial. It's the trial of the century in the abortion area, and the media have been slow to pick up on it. But we have seen in the pro-life press daily multiple stories. We have seen some pickup of news by the national media, but not as much as we had hoped.
In listening to some of the prosecution, the stories are almost, well, in fact, they are unbelievable. And what this doctor's been doing, and how long has he been doing this kind of murdering?
Well, he's been practicing for well over 25 years, and he has been one of the founders of the abortion movement in America. And his practice in Philadelphia, there were many warning signs that there were some serious problems going on in this place. Local hospitals, emergency rooms, state reports that went uninvestigated showed for years that this guy was causing major havoc with women, and there was all kinds of suspicious activities going on. Yet the state of Pennsylvania failed to inspect this facility for over 17 years. And it was only because of a drug bust where he eventually got involved in selling illicit drugs out of this office that an FBI investigation was launched, when they appeared in the facility and witnessed absolutely atrocious conditions.
All right, describe to us what he's been accused of.
Well, he's been accused of literally beheading babies, of overdosing a mother who died there. He effectively was committing infanticide. He would deliver live babies and then murder them. He murdered them by literally cutting their spines and their necks, breaking their live, breathing bodies, literally with the help of untrained and unqualified non-physicians. He kept squalid conditions. He reused surgical equipment that infected abortion patients with STDs. He had just complete disregard for the dignity and safety of patients, which triggered the death of at least 2 women, and they're charging him for the death of 1. And eyewitnesses concur that the words cannot fully describe the absolutely appalling conditions. Many of his former staff are testifying against him, and it was just an unbelievable trial. I didn't get a chance to witness it, but I will get a chance to go to Philadelphia next week, a week from today, and we'll go to this ongoing trial as the defense makes its case, and I don't know how they're going to do it.
Chris, why now would the employees or the colleagues of the doctor just now come out? And I understand Ms. Cross, I guess, gave an incredible testimony against him, but why would they wait so long to come out against him?
Well, there were some early warnings from some of their staff, and they just were ignored. It wasn't until the FBI went in on a drug bust that they got serious about this doctor. You know, you could ask yourself why the abortion industry hid this guy for years. There was the National Abortion Federation knew about him, knew about his unsavory practices and conditions. They refused him membership, but they didn't turn him in.
What about Ms. Craw's testimony? Can you give us an idea what she said against him?
Well, there was this, just absolute callousness he had in the severing of the spines of the babies, the horrible lack of sanitary conditions, the encrusted blood on instruments, the reusing of medical instruments which would transmit disease from one woman to another. The fact that he was, targeting minorities in a minority area of Philadelphia. He himself, a black doctor, just absolute indifference to human life. It's just almost too grisly to describe the details of how he treated people. And but the staggering thing is, what I'd love to see is an indictment for the medical officials in Pennsylvania who, through impraved indifference, let this kind of treatment go on, did not inspect this facility, that the hospitals that saw emergency room patients of this doctor did not take action. There are so many tips that went unnoticed. I mean, we talk about now how the FBI failed to investigate the suspects in Boston. There was far, far more evidence here to public officials in Philadelphia and Pennsylvania that there was something very wrong with this facility. And in effect, they let it go.
All right. With that kind of notification, do you feel now that there'll be subsequent legal action taken on authorities?
I don't think so. The district attorney of Philadelphia has not pressed any criminal charges against any public officials. There have been some, excuse me, actions taken at the state level to improve reporting requirements. There's legislation being considered now that will more tightly regulate abortion facilities, but it's way too late for the victims of Dr. Gosnell.
Any reaction out of this administration towards this case?
No, absolutely none. President Obama has absolutely nothing to say, and that's consistent with his behavior when he was in the Illinois legislature, where he voted down legislation that would mandate protection for infants born alive during abortions. This is what happened here in Philadelphia, and Gosnell had many, many infants born alive, and he, instead of doing what he should have done, save them, protect them, he murdered them. And this was what was okay with Senator Obama when he was in the Illinois legislature.
It would seem to me that the disposing of these babies after he killed them would be some kind of an alarm would go off when people would find these babies, or I mean, I don't even know how that happened. I mean, why there wasn't some kind of a whistle blown then?
Well, it's a lot of mothers that go into these abortion clinics. They do so in shame and fear, and they just accept what goes on in some cases as just a part of doing business. And the abortion industry, which uncovered what was going on, failed to turn in this man because, of course, it was an embarrassment to the abortion industry. And even today, pro-lifers are being blamed for this, driving women to these kind of places because other facilities are being shut down by regulation. It's just upside down. We're being blamed for demanding higher level standards while the abortion industry is driving itself to lower standards. In New York State, the governor of New York right now is trying to drop the requirement that doctors perform abortions in the state of New York and lower it to nurses or nurse midwives. They have not strengthened medical clinic regulation. If anything, with new legislation, they're going to allow third trimester abortions in doctors' offices rather than the current requirement that they be performed in hospitals. So some of the abortion leaders in our government in various states just don't get it. They're not learning any lessons from this Gosnell nightmare.
All right, so the prosecution has retched its case. The defense starts, and that probably will go on for a little while. And the only thing we can do is hopefully people like you and others will keep us informed, Chris, on what happens with this, because it is the exposure that we knew happened, but now here it is in front and center that we can be able to take action on this kind of stuff.
Yeah, and we have to demand in the future that the abortion clinics be regularly investigated, that they be set to the highest standards of modern medicine, and that this never happen again. But it is happening across the country in many, many settings. We see Maryland, for instance. We see a woman recently died there at 33 weeks in pregnancy, a New York woman. And yet the investigators have not stopped Leroy Carhart, an abortionist operating out of Germantown, Maryland, from continuing to abort under very, very suspicious circumstances. It takes vigilance to stop these abortionists across America.
Well, Chris, thank you for your time, and thank you for your work and your passion, and we'll have you back as the trial progresses and to give us an update. But again, thank you for informing us today. Blessings on you, and we'll talk soon again, okay?
Thanks very much.
All right, we'll be right back.
Yep.
Hi, I'm Paula, and I work at theDove TV. Every day we get letters and emails from people who've been encouraged, blessed, and challenged by the programs on theDove TV. But we couldn't do it without you. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to bring inspiration and hope to our community by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us, or call us at 541-776-5368.
Well, I wanted to take a few moments today to express to you again our sincere gratitude for all of you that helped theDove this past couple of days or last week. We normally do 2 share-a-thons a year, one in the spring, one in the fall. And we were hoping to do Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday as last week. And as you know, the Boston tragedy happened on Tuesday, so we didn't start a share-a-thon then. We did it Wednesday and Thursday and a little bit Friday morning. And we do this twice a year because we are a listener-supported radio and television outreach, actually multimedia outreach, because we use all forms of media to spread the gospel. And we were down about 14% in our operating budget, and that's just the basics to maintain all the things that we do. And we asked for your help, and you graciously responded. And I just want to say thank you from all of us here at theDove. We not only met the goal, but by the end of Friday, we actually exceeded the goal. And that just helps us to go on and do the things that are before us. And why do we do this? What's this really all about? It's not about television and radio stations and translators. Those are tools that the Lord has entrusted into us to reach people with the gospel. And as you heard just my last 2 interviews today, it just lets you know how desperately we need the gospel out there today, and how desperately we need to understand God's book as it relates to everyday life. There seems to be such an incredible spirit of death, if I can say that, over the world, and yet everything about the gospel is life and joy and peace. And it's hard to understand that when everything seems to be so upside down and crazy. And yet, if you want to reach the masses today, I'm absolutely convinced media is the way to do it. And that doesn't take the place of the church by any means. But it is a bridge, and in some ways it's a gateway to get people into the church. And it's amazing how God uses media, whether it's the radio stations or the translators or now the television. Maybe sometimes it's even through the internet and with YouTube and Facebook. Once these tools are being used to get the programming out, God matches the program with the person's need at the right time. Several years ago, the Lord gave me Romans 10:20, and actually it's also found in Isaiah 61, but it says this. It says, I was found by those who didn't seek me. Can you imagine that? People aren't even seeking God, and they find Him. And the next part of that verse says, and I manifested myself to those who didn't even ask. They didn't even ask to find God, and He loves them so much, He manifests Himself to them. And the only way that that can happen is for God to take the content of the radio and the television, the internet, the YouTube, the Facebook, whatever the content is at the moment, and match it with the person with whatever they're going through in their life. And that's the testimony we hear over and over and over again here at the Dove. We get emails and letters, and people stop by talking about how at the right moment God used the content of the Dove to minister to them. And of course, the Word for You Today devotional is a part of that as well. But none of this just happens. It's because of you and your involvement. And when you support the Dove, you literally are one of us. And I don't say that just to make you feel good. It is the fact. We literally can't do what we do without you. You're as part of us as we are here doing it every day, whether it's the technical crew in the control room or those of us who are behind the microphones and the cameras, whatever it is. God uses all of that to minister to people. And I just want to say thank you. You have encouraged us, you have strengthened us, and you have helped us to move forward. And we are truly, truly grateful for your connection. And you know, in looking through some of the forms that we get at the end of a share-a-thon, I was looking through that, and I know some of the people, and I know that it's a sacrifice for you to give. My heart wants to say, take it back, don't give it to the Dove. But at the same time, I don't want to interrupt God's economy. There's something about stepping out by faith, giving by faith, and then watching God begin to move heaven and change things in your own life to return it to you in ways that only He can. So I just want to say thank you. Other things that we have in front of us, just as a way of a quick update, for about 8 years, that's how long it's taken for us to get the permits to get things going to build a radio station in Brookings. And we are in that process right now. It takes time. You deal with weather, and you deal with a lot of other challenges, technical challenges, which we've had over the last couple of weeks. But we are probably within 1, maybe 2 weeks away from getting KDOB on the air, and hopefully that will happen soon. We still have a few little challenges in front of us, but all the equipment's here, everything's ready to go, and you helped us pay for that. And that'll cover Brookings and Crescent City. And we're very excited to add those areas to the Dove listening area. We are working behind the scenes to expand the Dove television. It's very time-consuming, in some ways very challenging, and the industry's changing constantly. But would you pray for us on that? We are talking to some more cable people and the satellite people. Many of you signed those petitions. Thank you so much for doing that. It's not easy. And there's just a lot of hurdles out there to jump over to get these things done. So we're trying our best to do that, and with God's help and your prayers, I believe with the favor of the Lord, we can progress in those areas as well. We only do that because we want to reach as many people as we can with the gospel and with God's love and encouragement and hope. And so when you support the Dove, you make that happen. So pray for us. One of the other things that we do behind the scenes is we are training young people in media. We love doing that. We're limited now to how much we can do because of our facility. We literally have outgrown where we are, and we are looking for a place, and that's been ongoing now for a couple of years. Been somewhat frustrating and discouraging, but I know that God has a place for us, and we'll get that handled. But right now we're a size 12 and an 8 shoe. That's the best way I could describe it. And growing pains are always challenging, and but I know that the Lord will take care of that. But our hope and our desire is to continue to train young people in media so they can go back into their church and do media, or literally go into the area of broadcasting as Christians and make an impact in those areas as well. But our desire is to take God's Word through the various means of television programming, radio programming, through the teaching, through the music, through the apologetics programs, the lifestyle programs, to do everything we can to connect people with Christ. And so pray for the Dove, and that the Lord would give us favor in those areas, that the Lord would use the content in those areas. And those of you who called in last week, believe me, we do not take that for granted. By no means do we. We pray for you, and we love praying for you when you send in your prayer requests. A lot of people do that, and we pray over those. So we're honored that you would entrust to us some very personal information. We don't broadcast it or anything like that. We keep it very confidential, and we, as a team, pray over you. So thank you for letting us have the opportunity to pray with you. And as we move forward, we're excited about what's ahead, because there are some opportunities to do more, and we'll take those as God brings them to us. But I just want to say thank you for about 350, 60 people that called in last week. I don't have the exact number here because we're still getting some totals there, but you know who you are. And I want to say thank you. Thank you so very, very much for believing in, praying for, and supporting the Dove ministry. You really are one of us. You're welcome to come by anytime. And if you need more devotionals, we have extras. We'd be glad to give you those to get them out. But together, you've heard me say it, together we're changing lives for good. And boy, that is happening every day through the Dove. So thank you for supporting us and making all this happen. God bless you.
Hi, I'm Jim, and I work at the Dove TV. Every weekday between 6 and 8 a.m., our award-winning news and sports team bring you the best morning show around. It's live, it's honest, and it's a whole lot of fun. And you help make it happen. Did you know that more than 90% of our income comes from people like you? You can help us continue to air local programs that share your voice by making a secure online donation at our website, thedove.us.